This doesn't seem like a place of conflict, and yet it was. Unusually so. You see, the clash between landowners and tenants during Highland clearance only ever seemed to go one way. But here was different. And I'm going to tell you how here on the Westeros coastline some women fought back. And I'm going to reveal some of the struggles behind this Highland conflict that you wouldn't expect. So if you're interested in the people, places and events in Scottish history, then click the subscribe button at the bottom right of the screen and ring the notification bell to be told when I upload new videos. In the meantime, let me tell you a story. In 1852, during that period of Highland clearance, or Victorian improvement, your politics will decide your choice of label. The estate factor in charge of the land around here recommended to the landowning nobility that it was time to rationalise. Two large farms in particular were densely packed with subtenants. Lady Stafford, a name that you'll have heard of in the videos about the Sutherland clearances, and a name that we'll come back to, ordered the termination of leases and new leases to be drawn up, excluding subtenants from the land. Some agreed to give up their existing grazings and be resettled at Baden Tarbert, but 18 refused. They were the core of resistance that grew, and according to the factor, stirred up all the other people in their townships to resist. On the 18th of March 1852, George Cameron, the sheriff substitute, accompanied by police and other officers of the court, arrived here from Ullapool to serve notices on 80 members of local communities. They were met by a large crowd of women who grabbed them and searched them for the legal writs that they carried. Once they'd found the offending documents, they burned them in front of the officers. No writs would be delivered that day, and the sheriff's party turned back, defeated and undoubtedly humiliated. But you know this wasn't over. A week later, a larger party came from Ullapool, this time by boat along this coastline. Imagine the scene. As the boat sailed to the shore, two groups faced each other. In each, there must have been apprehension, even fear, anger, duty, and a sense of injustice. The smaller group, sailing to the shore, outnumbered by the hundreds waiting. But the arriving group knew that they were in the right, because they had pieces of paper in their hand that said so. The larger group knew that they were right by dint of common sense and natural justice. Can you put yourself in the minds of each group? Not one group, but each group. I remember during the 2015 general election campaign, I was out in Perth High Streets handing out leaflets for the Green Party, which seemed like a no-brainer to me. Environmental destruction and climate calamity are the biggest issues that face the world, and everything else, left or right, independence or union, immigration policy, trade, etc., it's all affected by and secondary to this primary threat. Now, I'm not looking to change your politics. The reason I mention this is to say that I've been in a small group with a sense of right and duty with a piece of paper in my hand. And as I enthusiastically engaged people, asking them to vote for Scottish Greens, I approached a guy who was tall, a middle-aged toff, a pink shirt, Barber jacket and corduroy trousers. I don't know what I was thinking. He clearly wasn't my target market. But I was an idealistic, maybe naive, youthful 50-year-old, with right on my side and trying to do my best for the common man. Anyway, as I approached the guy, offering him a leaflet saying, "Vote Green, my friend," he said, "I'm not your friend, I'll get the police to you." Now, it may have been my naivety, but I'll be honest, I felt our chap had overreacted just a bit. Obviously to him, being asked to consider an alternative to his way of thinking was more of a perceived threat than I'd anticipated. And his automatic knee-jerk response was to call the police. In that moment, I realised that there are a group of people in this country who instinctively, automatically, without thinking, use 3 words in a repetitious manner when one would have done, just because the emphatic rhythm of 3 makes for a better story. There's another group who assume that the police are there for them. Law enforcement is to insulate them from perceived threats and to protect their dignity and property rights. Now, if you're like me, when you see a police car, you automatically check to see if you've done something wrong. I grew up in a world where the police represented a threat. He came from a world where the police were used as a threat. Now, depending on which of these worlds you inhabit, you'll know whether you naturally fit in the boat or on the shoreline. Now, last night I stayed in the fabulous Summerells Hotel here. If you get the chance, you should go. But back then, a large mutinous crowd of women and teenage girls gathered on the beach below the hotel. When the party landed, they seized the sheriff's men and stripped them to find the papers. Eventually, they were discovered nailed under the stern of the boat. A bonfire was set on the beach, fueled by the Ritz, and the boat was carried up the hill and dumped. Scenes that the factor later described as a distinguished triumph of brute force over law and order. More attempts were made in February 1853 and then a month later. Each time, the women of the area humiliated the men in authority who came with their pieces of paper in hand, and as we often say in a different context, sent them homeward to think again. By December 1853, the landowners and their enforcers were demanding action. But with relentless negative publicity, no support from central government was forthcoming. There would be no larger police threat, and the Marquis and Marchioness had to abandon the removals. This was one time when the tenants won and the nobility had to accept defeat. The names of the key women who led this revolt have been passed down through the years, and folks are currently trying to raise funds to build a memorial here overlooking where Mary MacLeod, Anna Van Mackenzie, Katie MacLeod Campbell, Catherine Stewart and the 16-year-old Margaret MacLeod led the stand against authority. The memorial will celebrate this small victory of people over their betters, and it will record a significant event in the history of this place. I'll leave a link in the description for those who want to help fund the monument. Of course, some of you might want to help fund the Scotland History Tours YouTube project. Basically, the only way that this channel survives is because people support me through Patreon or buy me a coffee. The transport costs, B&B, videographer, editor equipment, all that's funded by people who support the channel via Patreon. Now, in return, these guys get extra videos, access to full-length theatre shows that I've done. Depending on the level of support, you might get extra gifts. So, if you want to help keep the channel going, please click the link top right to become a Patreon member. Now, that might have seemed like a change in direction, but I've got another for you. You see, in my other videos about clearance, I've always sympathised with the plight of the defeated tenants. It's only fair that we take a moment to look on the losing side here. This was Mackenzie country. George Mackenzie, the 3rd Earl of Cromarty, was sentenced to death for his part in Bonnie Prince Charlie's Jacobite Rising. Now, the confiscation of lands, attainder, conditional pardon, repurchase of lands from the Crown, inheritance through the female line, and a couple of familial dead ends lead us to that guy's great-grandson, John Hay Mackenzie, who by all accounts wasn't a bad guy. Now, I had to come into the hotel to get out of the rain. But Mackenzie had been through the potato famine trying to support his tenants. He provided refuge in 1844 to 24 families cleared from a neighbouring estate, and again in 1850 he gave lots to another group of tenants evicted by a landlord clearing his estate. In the summer of 1849, he saw his daughter Anne married to the Marquis of Stafford, heir to the richest estate in the Highlands. And then 12 days later, he died. Only then did young Anne discover the parlous state of the family's financial affairs. Now, if you think you recognise the title Marquis of Stafford, it's because Anne's new husband was the grandson of the Marquis of Stafford, who'd married into the Sutherland estate and perpetrated the most horrific of the Highland clearances before attaining the title Duke of Sutherland. Grandad's horrendous clearing activities left the Sutherlands with such a bad name that Daddy is struggling to get tenants to trust him. And Anne, having just married the next generation of Staffords, finds her tenants naturally suspicious of anyone that's in league with that lot. 12 days ago, Anne had no assets of her own. Then she married a guy who will at some point inherit one of the largest estates in Britain. So for 12 days, she was a wealthy heiress. Then her dad died and left her a cow buyer full of debt and a tenantry whose rent doesn't even cover her costs. But that doesn't even matter because their arrears are more than the annual rent that she hasn't been getting anyway. Now, she could sell a chunk of land for £50,000 to pay off the debt, but nobody's going to buy land with a bunch of tenants and rent arrears and aggressively refusing removal by a landlady nobody trusts because she's now a dodgy Stafford. What's more, the Mackenzie taxmen, the primary tenants, are complaining that there are too many subtenants and they want folk moved off the land even if she didn't need it to clear her financial problems. The income our new husband gets from his father is all accounted for, and he can't persuade his dad's managers to advance him the money for a bottomless bucket of cash-eating land that's doing nobody any good. I'm just saying, being heir to the Cromarty estate might not be the champagne and caviar that it sounds. This was the situation Anne Stafford found herself in when she attempted to persuade 80 folks to move to other parts of the estate, but 18 refused. These 18 grew to a community whose women accosted the court officers carrying writs and burned them. The writs. They didn't burn the court officers, but they burned the writs again and again at each attempt. The only solution was military force. But by the middle of March 1853, the Solicitor General had made it clear that he wouldn't be authorising any military intervention at Coigach. Nobody in Edinburgh or London was coming to help. This would have to be dealt with locally. Now, if you think that I'm trying to persuade you that the ladies of Coigach were baddies, I'm not. The consequences for Anne Stafford not getting these people cleared were very different from the consequences for cleared people. Even as a winner in this fight, Katie MacLeod Campbell, one of our resilient ladies, paid a price. Now, last night at my show in the village, I met our descendant Julia, who lives here today. That is a triumph. But back then, estate officials made sure that Katie would never live on the estate. When she married, she and her husband were forced to build a house below the high water mark, so that they often suffered from flooding. Lady Stafford had no such worries. I'm just presenting you with two different views of the situation. You need to choose which side to take yourself. Or maybe you don't take sides. Maybe you recognise that sometimes Celtic are better and sometimes Rangers are better. Although we know in truth that all anyone really cares about are Dundee and St Johnstone. These events fell in between the worst of the Sutherland clearances that preceded it and the Skye Crofters War that came after. This was the event that made the difference between the two. Now, if you don't already know about the Skye Crofters Wars, then I've got 3 videos in a playlist that you definitely should watch. Just click the link coming up on screen now. Support the channel by clicking top right to become a Patreon member, or buy me a coffee in the description below. Alternatively, find the link in the description to help support the monument to the brave ladies of Coigach. In the meantime, ha' mi an dóchas go mbuail am alive. Cheerio and Rasta.